All right, I am Leah Wilson-Felis. Welcome. This is Yoga Studio Satya. I am recording this for Zoom, for YouTube, and I've got a live class here. So thank you so much for being here. As we record this, it is Easter Sunday, and we've been working with the elements for the last couple weeks. So if you've missed out on my element series, you can go to youtube.com and type my name in, which is Leah Wilson-Felis. If you just type in Leah Wilson, it should pop up. But there's a whole element series, and so today we are on air, the air element. And so in the past we've worked with fire and water and earth and all the elements. Next week we'll work with space, and that will conclude our element series. So today the mudra for our air element, pretty simple, it's the Vayu Mudra. And what you want to do is you're going to just tuck your index finger down into the palm and use your thumb to hold it in place. So you've got 3 fingers extended on the end, middle, ring, and pinky finger. That's called the Vayu Mudra. So Vayu literally translates as wind. And maybe we can remember that by the W that the 3 fingers make there. So you can hold that up if you want. You can let that rest in your lap. You could bring the hands together kind of like a little bowl. However the hands feel comfortable to you. And if you'd like, you can start to close your eyes, or maybe just simply lower your gaze down if it's uncomfortable to close the eyes. I like to find a little spot on the ground. If you have a yoga mat, maybe an imperfection on your mat, or maybe just a little spot on the floor in front of you. A focal point is known as a drishti. And so as you focus on that drishti, we'll start to bring the wind into our body. So start to breathe. Breathing a little bit more consciously, just breathing in through the nose and breathing out. Same, through the nose. Moving the air, the Vayu, the wind within your body. And the breath is the first way to start moving the air within the body. Now this Vayu Mudra that we're doing with our hands, it activates the air element, and it supports this integration of movement in the body. It directs our breath and our awareness to our chest, the side ribs, upper ribs, the clavicles, gently lengthening as we inhale and contracting as we exhale. So imagine as you breathe, energy moving into this whole upper part of the chest, from your ribs up to your collarbones, filling and expanding up and down, side to side, and front to back. So let's take 3 really conscious breaths here together. Nice deep breath in. Feel your ribs expand from your clavicle down to your belly button. Exhaling. Let's do that again. Same motion. Inhaling and expanding top to bottom. And we'll take our last 3rd conscious breath just with that up and down motion of the diaphragm and the ribs. And then we'll imagine with our next 3 breaths, the ribs expanding left and right, out to the sides, under your armpits. You might even feel your arms have to expand out as you breathe in. And they relax and soften as you breathe out. Last 3rd breath in that direction. And finally, these last 3 breaths, imagine the chest expanding from your breastbone to your spine, front and back. Exhaling as everything comes back and softens, relaxes. Inhaling to expand the ribs. Last breath here, front to back. Now let's start to move a little bit here with our breath. So remove your mudra and wiggle those fingers out. Maybe make fists and spread your fingers a couple times or roll out the wrists both directions. And so what I like to imagine is kind of like a snow globe when you start to like shake it up. And so I'm going to imagine that happening as I inhale. It's kind of like a whoosh. The air is lifting up overhead. And as I exhale, I'm going to kind of draw everything back down to grounding. So let's try that. Inhaling and scooping the arms out, air up in front of us, and exhaling to float back down towards the legs. So match your breath. Let's do it a couple times. Breathing in and lifting out, moving at your own accord. And when you are ready to exhale, you float your hands back down. So you may be breathing a little bit faster or a little bit slower than me. So don't worry about matching me, just worry about matching your breath to your movement. Let's do it one more time out in front of us. That big whoosh, lifting up the molecules, moving the air around us. Exhaling to bring the hands back down to the knees. Now if your legs are getting a little uncomfortable, feel free to switch them at any time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You might notice I've been sitting on a block. So I'm going to remove that block so I can get really grounded through my pelvis here, hands on the knees. And we're going to start to just kind of do a forward and backward cat and cow. So we'll start with cow pose by leaning forward. That will be an inhale. And as we exhale, start to roll towards your tailbone and round your back. Let's do that just a couple times and start to warm up the spine here. Matching the breath. Moving the air with the breath. Wind and Vayu is responsible for all movement. It's existence without form. It's change. Air is movement of seeds, of thoughts, of ideas, of communication. Air is the vehicle of wind, which is adaptable. It's mutable. That means it's always changing. Let's change too. Let's come on back up to center and add kind of a rocking from side to side. Maybe it's more of a lean from side to side. So just leaning. Don't feel like you need to lift the sits bones at all. It's just the upper body doing the movement here. Try to be like air, light, shifting. Air can teach us to really move through life, forgive, move on. It's spontaneous sometimes. So let's change. Let's do that again. Let's come back to center. Let's visit our 4 directions. You might inhale forward and lean to one side and start to exhale to the back side of your body and to the opposite side, inhaling as you come forward. So right now I'm just visiting these 4 directions, but I'm going to start to smooth it out like a clock face. So I want to visit all the numbers on that clock. And right now I'm going in counterclockwise, but you can go in any direction you'd like because you can be sure that we will go in both directions. So air, it's what we kind of need to live as well. It's that one thing we all living beings have in common. We need air. But so do non-living things because they exist too. We all exist and are connected by space and air. Go ahead and go the other direction too. I also think of air sometimes as technology because the internet, if you will, exists in the air. Wi-Fi signals, waves existing within this air. Here's some astrology signs that have to do with air. Aquarius, Gemini, Libra. Beautiful. Let's come on slowly back to center here. And we're going to get our arms out to the side. Let's kick our legs out too, so our legs at these have a little break here. Wiggle them out. And make sure that your feet are separated a little bit so that your big toes are lined up with your hips. So let's take a big inhale up to the sky, sweeping up to the ceiling, and exhaling, rounding over here. Reach for your ankles, reach for your shins, your knees, and toes. And then feel that air move through your chest. So you become that snow globe. Every time you inhale, you kind of lift and feel your body expand with air, and then exhale and compress. Let's take 2 more breaths. And it doesn't have to be a big movement. I just kind of exaggerate because I want people to see that movement of breath in my body. But yours doesn't have to be so big of a movement. It can be very subtle, just a gentle lifting and a gentle melting. All right, when you have had enough, make sure to release. You can slide back up to center. Let's give our whole body a little stretch here. We're going to start with our toes and work our way all the way up. So let's just start by flexing and pointing those toes a couple times. We don't give our feet a lot of love and stretching and things like that. And so let's start to roll those ankles out. You might be aware of that little click in your ankle. I have got a click. You might be aware of your neighbor's click. Nice. All right, wiggle out those knees a little bit, and then we're going to start to bring our knees into kind of like a diamond shape. So we want to bring our heels together. Your toes might not touch, but so we want our legs to be a bigger diamond than you would in like a Baddha Konasana. And we're going to try to reach for those ankles that are pretty far away and start to round the back. And I feel the stretch. The target area is the outside of the thighs, behind the knees, and into the outer hamstrings. Now, everyone's made differently, so be aware of that, and you might feel it somewhere else, so don't be ashamed if you're like, I don't feel it there, and you might even speak up and say, well, I don't feel it there, this is where I feel it. And I'll probably say, well, cool. The thing about yoga is that we're going to feel it exactly where we need it, where we're the tightest. Yoga meets you where you are, right now. Let's take a deep breath and connect ourselves to this moment, this position, our body, our breath. And we'll start to peel ourselves up. We'll give our legs a little break here and kick them out again. Just wiggle them out, maybe do some window wipers. I like to do a bigger window wiper and bend my knees a little deeper. So I've got a lot of options here. Just kind of moving the body after staying still in that stagnant motion. Now let's make that position a little bit bigger. So we had a kind of diamond shape, and now we're going to come into butterfly knees. So it's known as Baddha Konasana. It means bound angle position. The feet are bound, the knees are in an angle, and we're in a position. So asana always means position. We're going to sit up nice and tall, drop those shoulders down. If you're not feeling a stretch somewhere in the lower body, then you can start to lean into that stretch. Feeling maybe groin, inner thigh, inner knee. Now adjust if you need to. Some people are going to come up and need to shove their feet a little bit farther away. Some people are going to want to deepen that stretch and pull the feet a little bit closer. I like to notice the difference between a rounded spine and a straight spine. I always feel more with a straight spine, always. Leaning the heart towards the feet, towards the ankles, round. Let's take a last breath here. Feel that belly expand. You might even feel your body lift a little as you breathe the air in. And as you breathe the air out, we melt. Great job. Let's just kick our right leg out as we return back to center. So the right leg's just going to kick out in front of us. Left knee is remaining here. And if if that knee is a little bit unhappy at all, then feel free to roll up maybe an extra yoga mat, a blanket, or put a little block underneath your knee here. So I always like to activate my foot, and I line up that right toe with that hip. We'll take a big inhale up to the sky and rotate the upper body so that when we fold over, you're going to be reaching for your right foot or your right ankle. Maybe you're at your shin. If you have a strap handy, you can always use that strap around the sole of your foot. And this pose is called Janu Sirshasana, and that means head to knee position. So if you just bow your head down like you're going to reach it for your knee, your right knee, you're going to feel that stretch really increase in the back of your knee, back of your thigh. You might feel it in your calf, might also feel it in your low back. a true testament to knowing that everything really is connected here. Now this is known as a static stretch. We're just holding this stretch here. And since we're working with the air today, let's do a dynamic stretch. As you inhale, slide up to your shin or your knee. And as you exhale, reach for that foot. And as you inhale again, lift up and make room for the air. And as we exhale, we'll really reach for that foot. Last time, so that we're not bouncing necessarily. We're just slowly edging deeper into that pose a couple times with our breath. Go ahead and come on up to center. We're going to combine two stretches together here. So what I want you to do is keep your right foot exactly where it is. We're going to take our left foot and separate it from the thigh. Now my hips feel a little wonky, so I have to literally adjust my hips straight out at a diagonal. So right foot remains, we rotate a little bit to the left. My left foot is lined up with my midline. And so I'm going to reach both hands down here on either side of that foot and start to walk my hands forward. You should feel your inner thigh screaming at you. Make sure those sits bones stay rooted. A lot of times I'll see people try to rotate the right hip forward to get further into the pose, but my butt bone is no longer connected to the floor. So we need to always stay grounded, anchored, but we can reach from the anchor. Let's take 2 more breaths. Great job. We're going to add that next piece of this pose on. So we're going to walk our hands over towards the right leg. You want your right arm reaching down the right leg. The left hand is going to reach out here in the studio towards the mirror, up to the sky, and then over your head so that your left arm is reaching over your head. Fingers are energetically reaching towards your right toes. The arm, the chest, the heart is facing straight out towards the left. I feel that right inner thigh and left rib cage. Don't forget to take a breath or 2 here. Try not to hold it at any time, always breathing in and out. With your next breath in, pull yourself back up to center. Nice work. We're going to rotate back forward and kick this left knee out. And we'll finish up the right side by working the outer hip. So just bending into that right knee and crossing it over top of the left leg. Give it a nice hug, pull it into your chest. You should feel the outer thigh start to stretch there. Relax those shoulders down. Reach through the crown of your head. Reach up through your heart. Looking good, everybody. Know that there's always more than one variation too, so you can feel free to be creative here as you work through your practice. And if need be, you can try different angles, maybe working that leg more into like that leg baby pigeon style pose. And that just gives you a different kind of stretch. But if you're like, no, I kind of like this one better today, then you can always go back to that. Let's add a twist so that we start to work up into our spine. So we're going to drop that foot down. I just hug on with my left arm and my right hand comes behind onto the mat and I hold myself up nice and tall. Now this is a great beginner stretch here, good beginner twist. But if you'd like to really get into that twist, then we'll sweep our left hand up and over towards the right, hooking our left elbow or forearm on the outside of that right thigh. You're going to kind of nudge it and give it a little elbow, and that's going to help your chest open up towards the right. See if you can take 2 deep breaths. If it feels super good, you can stay there as long as you would like. Breathing while we're twisting is so good for our organs. It's very detoxifying. You can imagine like a washcloth wringing out. We'll start to unwind to the other side, over towards the left. I like to come over here and do a push-up because I'm really not good at push-ups, but I can do these ones. Let's come on up, and we're going to stretch the whole other side out. So just take your right leg and plop it over here, and you're ready for the other side. It's a pretty cool sequence because it works out perfectly. Let's take an inhale up to the ceiling. rotate to the left and reach for that left knee or shin or ankle or foot and bow the head down. Remember to breathe in the air and lift the belly, lift the chest, and as you exhale, you can fold a bit deeper into that. And you can make it dynamic by sliding up to your ankle or your shin with the inhale and sliding back down with the exhale. We'll remain here for about 6 more breaths, and it's your choice if you just want to hold the static position and breathe, or if you'd like to do that dynamic style of stretching with movement. There's some choices to make, but all of them are good ones. Let's bow that head a little deeper. Last breath here. We'll start to slide up that left leg, rolling up to center, up to seated, and we'll adjust for our next position. So we're just going to separate the right foot from the left thigh so that there's space. I have some people who like to put a block right there so that it is not possible for that foot to hit the thigh. But I always have to adjust my hips out too, and I start to feel that left inner thigh really stretching here. I'm going to sit up nice and tall and start to lean towards my right foot. It's lined up with my midline, the belly button. And again, with every inhale, I feel my body lift a little with that breath, and with every exhale, I can sink a bit deeper so that each pose becomes dynamic, just with the movement of breath. Your target area should be left inner thigh. Both sits bones rooted down here. Let's start to walk our hands over towards the left leg. So my left hand's going to end up reaching down my left leg as far as I can. My right hand's like, So then I'm going to start to reach that right arm out, up, and if it's okay, over the head. Now you have to be aware of your shoulder and how that shoulder's feeling while you do that position. And just do the position that works best for your body. Energetically, right fingertips are reaching towards the left toes, opening the heart out towards the right. Let's take a breath or two here. When you're ready to come up out of your posture, take that big inhale and bring yourself back to center. Nice work, everyone. Let's rotate back ahead and we'll kick that right leg out. Finish up the left leg, bending through the knee, cross it over top, starting to work up into the hip here. You can pick that leg up and give it a hug. Again, we got to remember to relax the shoulders, sit up tall, and you'll notice a difference. And when I'm kind of rounded, I feel a little sad, so I just round my back. And I don't feel much in my body. I kind of feel more through my back than anything, which is kind of nice to feel the difference. And then when I sit up nice and tall, like a plant sprouting up and reaching towards the sun, I can really feel that hip start to open. Now, of course, there's other variations, and if you tried that little pigeon on the other side, that little leg baby pigeon pose, then try it on this side too, and you might just be like, I like the first one first. So you can always go back to what suits your body the best. And that's when I start talking about the yoga diet. What works for your body might not work for mine. And so we have to kind of honor what works for each of us as an individual. We'll start to add our twist from here. So I'm going to just let my left foot cross over to the right. Hug on with my right elbow. Swing that left hand around to support myself for a really nice gentle twist to begin. But if you'd like to go deeper, of course you can. You always have that option. Swinging the right arm up to the sky, hooking that right arm on the outside of your left thigh. So it's going to be right arm out to the left, left hand supporting you behind your back. We'll sit up nice and tall. And then exhale and kind of give yourself a little nudge, elbowing into that left thigh. Maybe even looking over your back shoulder. We're starting to work up into the upper body there. Wring out that washcloth by taking a deep breath. And we'll start to unwind over to the right for our easy push-up. Nice job. All right, and we'll start to unwind here. Let's try some things out here. Let's do a forward fold again and see how all the work that we've done has culminated to change our body. Let's take a big inhale up to the sky, and we'll start to fold over, reaching for ankles, shins, toes, wherever you are. I think I can see a difference. I hope you can feel a difference. Deep breaths. Softening your body with every exhale. Yoga's not always about doing. Sometimes it's about undoing, letting go, surrendering to the work. Nice work. Let's come on up to center here. We'll give our arms, we've done those twists for the mid-back, so we'll give our arms a couple stretches, and then we'll start to flow a little bit. So let's take this right arm and just kind of give ourselves a half hug, and then we'll use that left arm to help. So my left hand is just helping. Remember to just tune into that shoulder. How's it feeling? We don't want to feel pain in yoga. We want to feel maybe, hurt so good, but not hurt so bad. So sit up nice and tall. Start to lean towards the left, and you're going to feel the ribs start to get engaged in there too. Start to lean your head towards the left, and you're going to feel the right side of your neck become engaged as well. Great job. Let's bring ourselves back up. Open the arms like wings opening up out to the side. We'll try it on the other side. So the left arm is going to come across. Right arm assists it. That side's a little different for me. Catch in there, so you got to kind of tune in. How's this side different? If you want to add more or something different, you can lean to the right, and that engages through the ribs. And then you can lean your head to the right too, and you might start to feel it in the side of your neck. When you've had enough, of course, you're welcome to come on up. It doesn't have to be when I come up. It can be when you're ready. So when that time comes, just opening the arms, squeezing the shoulder blades back. We're going to do a right arm tricep stretch. So we bring our right arm up overhead into the back of our neck. Left hand is going to assist. And we'll start to lean once again over towards the left. So being aware of how that whole line from armpit into shoulder feels on that right side. The more that you can sit up tall, the more you're going to feel. If you start to round over, you might not feel as much, but you may have to round to honor your body. Let's try the other side. Big inhale, letting everything go. Wings opening out to the side, squeezing back. Left arm reaching up to the sky, to the back of your head or neck. Right hand can assist, up to the elbow. Still want more, you can lean to the right and get the underarm and the ribs engaging there. Nice work, everyone. Big inhale, back to center. Open those wings up and squeeze them back. And finally, we'll start to rotate the hands down and back behind us so that your hands are interlaced. And you want it to be, somewhat comfortable as you're interlacing. Feel free to sit however you want. For me too, I'm like, so I want to sit cross-legged now to sit up nice and tall if that feels better for you. But if legs straight is better, stay there. I'm going to bring, both of my hands into my right waist, clasped. And then I'm going to lean my head to the right. Neck stretch there. Yeah, it's a fun way. Fun way to stretch your neck. And then when I'm there, I kind of just draw my chin forward and lift my chin back. And I can start to carve out the neck. So if you're like, that's a little bit too much, don't feel like you need to stay here forever. You can switch whenever you're ready, but when you do switch, so I'm going to come back to center. I'm going to interlace my fingers the awkward way behind my back, the way that I'm like, wait, that's not normal. And then I'll bring it into my left waist and lean my head to the left. Oh yeah, that side's so different. I can feel it in front more. so you can really tell the difference from side to side. And again, feel free to carve the neck out, stretching, lengthening muscles. I hear some crunchies back there. Whenever you've had enough, feel free to release those hands completely and draw the chin down to the chest. We're just going to hang here. This is like a gravitational neck traction. But a lot of us spend our lives in this position because we're looking down at books and phones and computers and things like that. So let's look up too. We'll start to look up. Shoulders down. I only say it because mine were up by my ears. We'll bring our head back to center, maybe a couple of rotations, maybe just rolling the neck, and then we'll start to transition our body to hands and knees. So feel free to grab some water on your way. We're coming to tabletop position here. So I always like to have a little cushion underneath my knees here. Just a quick tabletop, a quick cat and cow to get back into the wind of our body, the movement with the breath. So as you come to this position, it's known as tabletop position. The fingers can be spread. You could also be on fists if that's better for your wrists. And so we'll start with cow pose. Look forward, heart reaches forward, tailbone lifts up. And then we're going to just round the back for a cat pose. And that's usually when I exhale. So when I inhale, I think of filling my belly. And when I exhale, I think of kind of compressing that belly up into the air and rounding out. We'll do that a couple more times. Shoulders down for cow. Shoulders up by the ears for cat. Nice work. Now when I first started doing cat and cow, it would really make my low back spasm. So just being aware of how your back is feeling as you're moving all those vertebrae around. Great job. Now we're going to do something where I always pretend like I'm like a butter knife scraping out a peanut butter jar. Okay, so I'm the butter knife. So I'm going to round my spine up and then round from side to side like I'm just scraping out the top of that cylinder. And I'm going to start to choose a direction and use my butter knife to scrape all the way around that cylinder, all the way up and around, down to the bottom, up in those corners, up where the lid goes, you know, where you can never get that last little bit. So you gotta use your body to get all those edges. And so I still try to stay true to my breath, inhaling as my belly reaches towards the floor, exhaling as I reach up. And if not, you know, don't worry about matching the breath to anything, just keep it flowing in and out. And we'll switch directions too, because sometimes you gotta, you know, go both directions to get every little corner of that jar. Nice. And we'll come on back to center, maybe one more big circle there. All right, so let's start to make our way into just a quick downward dog. We won't spend time there, we're transitioning. So tuck your toes, lift your knees, look at your toes for a moment, and then look at your hands. And as you look at your hands, you're going to start to slide your body weight forward and then walk forward. Walk your hands back to your feet, whatever you need. Sometimes I do a combination where I step forward a little bit and then I walk my hands back, and I end up in a forward fold. I want my knees to be bent in my forward fold and my feet to be separated, again, so that my big toes are lined up with my hip bones. Nice job. Let's let go of our head for a moment. Let go of your neck. Sometimes that takes some real conscious effort. Sweep those arms out like a bird. Take a big inhale and start to roll up. Go slow as you'd like so that you don't get dizzy. Hands will reach up overhead, and we'll bring the hands down to the heart center. Nice job. We'll get set up for a sun salutation here. And we're going to try to really flow with that breath today, with that air. So I always step forward, so I've got about 6 inches between the top of my mat and my toes. And even here, I don't want my feet to be touching like this. The reason why is, well, because I study a lot of anatomy. And when our feet come together like this, it puts a lot of outward pressure on our hip bones. So I'd rather be in alignment so that everything is nice and aligned with the hips. So from here, big inhale. Think of air. Breathing in, lifting up. Exhaling, hands come down to the sides of your body. Inhale, sweep up to the sky. And exhale, float your hands out, bend through your knees, and start to roll forward over your thighs. Reaching for the floor or a block, or just letting your arms hover is just fine. Now let's stretch out here just a couple times. We'll do 3 on each side. So with an inhale, straighten, say your right leg first. I lean a little bit to the left, and then I'm going to exhale and bend both knees. And when I inhale again, I'm going to switch sides. So my left leg lengthens, and I might lean slightly towards the right to allow that to happen, and then I exhale and bend both knees. Inhale, right leg lengthens. Exhale, bend both knees. And again on the left side. You'll notice as you gain flexibility, you do less leaning, and it's just lengthening of the leg and the thigh. Nice job. Now, we've done 3 on each side, so let's lift halfway. That means the hands are going to walk up to the shins or right underneath the knees. If I turn to the side, you'll see I kind of look like a figure 7. My hips are reaching back, my head is reaching forward, my back should be somewhat flat, and my legs are kind of forward at a slight diagonal. We'll take one more breath here. I stuck my belly button in, and then I'm going to exhale and bend through my knees a lot to get my fingertips down to the floor. When I do that, I'm going to step 1 foot back. I'm choosing my left foot first, and then I get my hands down to the floor, and I step my right foot back to downward facing dog. Align your body here in downward dog. Fingers are spread so that the webbing between your fingers is really catching your body weight. My heels are lifted. My knees are bent. My tailbone is reaching up, kind of like there's like a hook attached to my tailbone from the ceiling. Now I'm going to pedal the right heel down. That means that right leg goes straight, just like we did standing, and then I'm going to switch sides. Left leg lengthens, right knee bends. And then I'll switch again, right leg lengthens, left knee bends. 1 more. Roll up to those tippy toes, look at your hands, and try to roll forward as far forward as you can into plank. Now I come about halfway and I'm like, well, I'm too far in front of my hands. So I have to adjust, walk my hands forward a little bit. We kind of want to pretend like we're about to do a push-up, but I know for some this is a lot on wrists and elbows, so you can drop to the knees. And we'll lower down to the floor, to our belly. Beautiful, chaturanga, Mimi. We'll untuck those toes, point them back, but then connect the top of the feet to the ground. So you really want those toenails to be pressing down into your mat. The reason for that, it's an energetic connection, and we don't want to lose the energy out the backs of our feet, so we connect to the ground. Squeeze those elbows in, look forward. That's called Sphinx. You can lift your hands and you feel your low back. Kind of like when you're parachuting, you can feel those muscles. I've never parachuted, so I don't know. Hands to the floor, squeeze those elbows in. And if you want to, you can rise the heart up a little further. That's known as a baby cobra or a cobra with lengthened arms. It's upward dog. I'm not warmed up enough, but I'm going to lower back through, back to the belly. And back to hands and knees. I tuck the toes. And I pretend like that hook is going to come onto my tailbone, and it starts to raise me up. Downward dog. Make any adjustments. I typically walk my toes forward a couple inches and start to pedal it out. And I want to watch my feet pedal. Watch the feet move through the air. Feel those calves stretching. Arms are strengthening here, but I know that can be a lot, so feel free to move on quicker than I do if you need to. Look from your feet to your hands, and we'll start to step forward. It could be that you just take 2 little steps. It could be that you're like me and you take about 10. So don't worry how many steps that it takes. Just come to forward fold. We'll bend through those knees to set up. We're going to lift halfway, flatten the back. Someone's reaching on your head and they're pulling your head forward. Someone else is pulling back on your hips so that your spine is lengthening forwards and backwards. Remember that breath we began with, the ribs expanding top to bottom, side to side, front to back. Exhale, release back down to a forward fold, bending your knees as you do this, separating your feet if you need to. I kind of feel like a gorilla, like a rag doll, with my knuckles just hanging on the ground, my head relaxing, my neck just hanging. My feet are about the only thing that are really active here, holding me onto the ground. Let's add a reverse swan dive. Do it nice and slow. If you start to get dizzy, you can fold forward again. Sweep your arms out, push through your feet, and start to roll or hinge all the way up. Find that drishti, that focal point, and sweep the hands up to meet overhead, exhaling down to heart center. Great job, everybody. Let's call the sun salutation, Surya Namaskara A. Let's do it again, but we'll do it a little bit quicker without the stretching and all the pulsing and things like that. So with your breath, inhale, heart center. Exhale, hands to the sides. Inhale, up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Soften those knees, it protects your back. We'll inhale to lift halfway, flat back. Exhale to a forward fold, hands to the floor, bend your knees a lot, step one foot back, and then the other. Take your time, we'll wait for you. I look at my toes first, and then I start to gaze at my hands and roll forward into a plank position, adjusting on the way. I always kind of scooch my feet back. Drop to the knees, and we'll chaturanga. Down to the floor. That's a push-up to the belly. Untuck the toes, but connect the tops of the feet to the mat. And we'll do a heart lift of your choice. You've got Sphinx, Baby Cobra, Cobra, or Upward Facing Dog. And then I come back through Cobra, Baby Cobra. Tuck those toes, hook that tailbone onto that hook, lift up to hands and knees, and whoop, all the way up. Walk my feet forward a little bit, look at my toes, and then I look at my hands, and I'm going to step one foot forward, and then the other again, and again, and again, all the way up. Hands are going to walk back a little bit. Let's reset the spine, lift halfway, inhale. Someone pulls on the head, someone else on the hips. Exhale, forward fold. Let's spend another breath here. Sweep those arms out, reverse swan dive. Nice job. Hands to the heart, back to center. So you can see when we do those at that vinyasa pace, how a class could include like 12 of them. I'm just going to do 2. We're going to worry, because it's beginner, so I kind of have to keep it that way for the basis of the class. So now I'm just backing up so cameras can see what my feet are doing. And I want to do some balancing today. This is going to be kind of like a somatic movement. Soma is body, and it means the body-mind connection, somatics. And so one time we did like a curtsy lunge thing, but today we're going to do a tree pose into a warrior 3. So those at home can see my lower body. So I'm basically going to be transitioning from this to this. Okay, so let's do it real slow together. Let's ground through the right foot. So I kind of imagine that my right front foot here, it's going to have all these roots growing out. So I'm going to imagine that I am a tree. My leg is this big trunk coming up. And I'm going to start to bend my left knee out to the side. Turn forward so you can see here. My heel is on my inner ankle bone. So this is a really beginner tree. So if you're like, my balance is off, I have a recent knee or hip injury and need to honor myself, you could hold on to a chair, counter, a friend if you need. And if you're like, I could balance here, you could try to lift your toes. If you're good to go, you can wrap the foot around the ankle or the calf. I'll always advise to skip the knee joint because the knee is supposed to bend this way. not that way. So if you want to come higher, bring that foot up into the inner thigh. Now find that drishti. I'm looking down at my spot on the floor because all of you are moving, including me, willow tree over here, and sometimes stepping off the mat will really help. I don't know why, it just does. And it's okay too, you can be like the moon, the season changing. Blame it on something. All right, so the next movement that we're going to do is we're going to rotate left knee forward. And we're going to start to send that foot back. It could be left toes on the floor. Could be that the left toes are hovering and you can feel that glute really kind of, getting stronger. And if you're in for a full warrior three, then you can start to teeter-totter over and fly a little bit. Right leg, right hip, mine's on fire. It's a lot of balancing. Nice job. Whenever you're ready, you teeter-totter back to standing, and we'll march it out a couple times, lifting those knees really high. Awesome work. Let's try the other side. And so, feel free, step off your mat if you had trouble on the other side. We're going to do left foot rooted. Right knee's going to be your branch leg this time. I always bring my hands to my heart center because it reminds me of this center line, my spine, my core. And then you can start to lift that foot, lift the toes, slide it up if you want to, or keep it low today. Find that drishti. Something to focus on that's not going to move. Keep breathing. Now, the thing about trees is that they sway in the wind without breaking. So it's a lesson that we have to take from trees. It's the most stiff ones that break and crack easily, but it's the willows and the trees that sway that survive that wind. Now let's start to rotate right knee forward. So even if your toe is on the floor like this, you can start to send it back. Toe on the floor, toe can hover, or you can start to teeter-totter and fly. Great job, everyone. My left hip, my left thigh's on fire, so yours might be too. And whenever you've had enough, just teeter-totter back up to standing, and we'll march it out. Nice job. So, when we put that all together, it's a really nice transition. And so next week when we do air, so come or check it out on YouTube, we're going to do this whole thing as a routine where we come to tree pose, we rotate the knee forward, we come to our warrior three, and then we step into a lunge. It's going to be a fun transition next week. We're going to get into space. So we're going to take everything we've learned over the last 5 weeks, and all the years, and we're going to end that too, and compile it into one session. So let's do a half salutation down to the floor, and we'll start to relax a little bit here. So hands at the heart. Think of the air inside of your body, and as you breathe it in and let it out. Like molecules shifting in your body every time you take a puff of breath. Inhale, breathe in at the heart. Exhale, hands down to the sides. Tadasana, mountain position. Inhale, up overhead. Urdhva Hastasana means upward salute. Exhale, forward fold. A forward fold in Sanskrit is called Uttanasana. We lift halfway, flat back. Someone pulls on your head, someone else on your hips. That's called Ardha Uttanasana. Half forward fold, back two, forward fold, bend your knees. We're going to step back to our last downward dog. Make it a good one. It's that last one, so pedal it out a couple times, maybe wag those hips a couple times. And we'll start to release down to hands and knees. If you'd like to start your relaxation in like a child's pose, that's a really great option. If you're ready to lay on your back and lay in a Shavasana today, then find your way there. I know I offer a lot of options. You have a lot of choices to make. as you start to rise up and come into a supine position. Supine means on your back. Then you can start to arrange your blankets, pillows differently if need be. And we'll lay back onto our mat. Now, of course, this is your practice too. So if at any point you feel the need to add any extra positions, you need a little something for your hips, a little something for your back, then feel free to add a position in and search through your stretches and find something that will target the area that you need some extra love in. I will always suggest to find a couple moments of stillness at the end of your practice so that your body, your mind, your nervous system can start to hone in on everything that your body has done in this last hour. See if you can remember back to an hour or so ago and how your breath was moving. If it was consciously moving. And now, how we can take that deep breath and really feel how the ribs expand in each direction from top to bottom, to your head, to your pelvis. And how the ribs expand from left to right, under the arms. How you feel your back press into the floor and your belly and chest rise away from the floor with each breath, front to back. Combine it all. The chest and rib cage expanding three-dimensionally in all directions around you. Air is change. Notice the change. Air is communication. See how you communicate and respond with your own body. Air is constant, always moving. notice where the mind has wandered, and if the breath continues to flow. No shame, no guilt if it has shifted. Just gently guide the breath, guide the mind back to the gentle, conscious breathing in and breathing out. Begin to bring awareness to our body. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. And let's add a full body, we call it a good morning stretch, by reaching your hands out or up overhead as high as you like, and reaching the toes down past the end of your mat and just reaching in both directions. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Might feel your low back arc off the floor there. Now you've got a lot of options as you work your way up. So you could roll to a side, and I'll advise you here, if you roll to the right side, your left nostril will be up, so you might feel more calm today. So if you've got a relaxing day, roll to the right. If you need some energy and need to get some stuff done, then you might roll to the left. Or you might skip all of that and just come on up to a seat. The choice is yours. It doesn't matter to me. As I roll to a side or start to bring that movement to my physical body, I just start to have some gratitude for the body. We'll make our way to seated if you haven't yet. Of course, you have the choice to stay lying as long as you like. And I always like to just start to do those side shifts again, maybe a little bit of forward and back as I come back to center, just to see how things have changed. And so earlier, my quote about the tree. Notice, the stiffest tree is most easily cracked or broken, while bamboo or willow survives by bending in the wind. That's by Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee said that. This one's my favorite air quote, or breathing. Breathing in, there is only the present moment. Breathing out, it is a wonderful moment. That's by Thich Nhat Hanh. He also said, feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. Love that one. Feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. So take a deep breath. Remember how the air serves you. Hands to heart center if you'd like to join in bowing. Bowing to each of us, the space that we are practicing in, the conscious breath, the mind that got you here to the practice today, and the body, the vehicle for which the practice comes through. I bow to each of you. Thank you so much for joining me. In yoga we say namaste, which means the supreme sweetness, the divine light that exists inside of me is also inside of each of you. Namaste. Beautiful job today.